Let's take a look at the 4 points of Darwin's natural selection assignment. What you'll need to do is read the following situations below and identify the 5 points of Darwin's natural selection that you learned about in your notes. The first one has already been done for you. Let's look at the example. There are two types of worms: worms that are active at night, called nocturnal, and worms that are active during the day, diurnal. Birds that feed on worms eat during the day and seem to be eating only the diurnal worms. The nocturnal worms are in their burrows during this time. Each spring, when the worms reproduce, they have about 500 offspring, but only 100 of these 500 ever become old enough to reproduce. The first question is, what worm has natural selection selected against? And the second part to that is, what has it selected for? So let's talk about those ideas again. Remember that when we say that natural selection is selecting against something, that it has a disadvantage, that it is not as successful. If we say that natural selection has selected for something, we say that it has an advantage or that it is being more successful because of some trait. And the one that is being selected against, the one that has the disadvantage in this case, is the diurnal worms, because those are the ones that are active during the day. Those are the ones that are getting eaten because they're active at the time that the birds are active eating them. The nocturnal worms, on the other hand, are being selected for because they are the ones that are safe. They are the ones that are in their burrows while the birds are feeding. The next part asks to identify Darwin's 5 points from the scenario above. The first point from Darwin is that population has variations. And so all you have to do is say, what are the different variations in the scenario? In this case, there were diurnal worms and there were nocturnal worms, and that's it. Then the next point from Darwin says that some variations are favorable. So you really just have to kind of restate what you set up above, in that nocturnal worms won't be preyed on as much, so that they are being selected for. The next point from Darwin says that more offspring are produced than survive. In the scenario description, it says that there are 500 offspring, but only 100 of those survive. The fourth point from Darwin says that those that survive have favorable traits. And so you just have to go through and think about, what is that favorable trait? Because most of the diurnal worms will die, leaving the nocturnal worms to mate. Remember, in order for it to be a favorable trait, it has to be passed on, which means that they have to survive in order to mate. The last point from Darwin says that a population will change over time. So you really need to think about, what will happen after this? What will happen because of this situation? And the answer is that because there are more nocturnal worms reproducing, these worms will tend to become more nocturnal over time. And then that's what you're going to do for each of these examples below. So in the second example, you're going to read about different types of polar bears. In the following example, you're going to read about the different types of ostriches. And then the last one, you're going to read about different types of rabbits. After that one, it gives you some summary, gives you a little description here at the bottom, and you can just kind of read through that for some clarity. All right, good luck on the assignment. If you have any questions, be sure you ask.